Hello and welcome to Residence Week. And this week, every day, we're going to be featuring a little snippet, and this was really based on the information, the feedback from participants in the MRI Safety Group, identifying some of the most important information to convey to new radiology residents. Actually, we got feedback both for radiology residents and for referring residents relative to MRI. So we may actually be breaking this down into two residence weeks, one for rad res and one for all of the referring specialties. But we're going to start out the week with the radiologist's central role in MRI safety. Oftentimes it's easy to imagine that the safety is entirely handled by, managed by, responsibility assumed by the technologists who administer the exam. And that's not correct. A substantial proportion of the responsibility for MRI safety falls in the lap of the radiologist. And therefore, for brand new radiology residents, want to give you sort of a quick overarching view of MRI safety, and then hit you with two recommendations in terms of your first steps, in terms of being active and competent managers of patient safety in the MRI environment. The first sort of overarching comment is really to shoot down a message that you've probably heard before and you will probably hear 100 times yet again, and that is MRI is the safe modality, right? We are conditioned to fear, to be concerned about ionizing radiation, and then because MRI doesn't use ionizing radiation, we're told, well, you know, that's the bee's knees. That's the solution to all of our safety concerns. Except that we kill people in MRI with the MRI device, right? There are projectile-related accidents and injuries and fatalities. There are burns that arise from the RF energies in MRI exams. MRI exams are incredibly loud and we do acoustic damage to patients. Plus, we're going to inject them with contrast agents and maybe other medications along with to facilitate the exam that bring with them their own risks. And then responding to urgent or emergent situations in MR brings all kinds of additional concerns because of the magnetism of the MRI. So the very first thing that I would encourage every radiology resident to do is to banish the PR campaign phrase that MRI is the safe modality. Banish that from your thought process. Recognize MRI as a region within the hospital, within the imaging center, that has its own very significant and rather unique safety hazards. Once you have switched your mindset, if it needs switching, to think of MRI as a region, a service, a modality that has significant safety concerns, you're partway there. You've made one of the biggest sort of intellectual or cognitive leaps about MRI safety. So once we've made that leap and we accept the fact that there are some fairly significant risks associated with MRI, now we come to the two asks, the two sort of initial asks of this week's of Rad Res welcome videos. The first is your site probably has an MRI safety training session. And I urge you, I beg you to not treat this as some sort of snooze through orientation material. This is so very central to your safety and the safety of your patients that I'm going to encourage you to take this extraordinarily seriously. And if you do take it extraordinarily seriously and you go through it, and it's nothing more than, say, a 20-minute self-guided PowerPoint kind of thing, you're probably not getting enough information in that orientation to be really helpful. Take what you can get, but don't be afraid to ask for more. Invest yourself in that initial MRI safety orientation, because the information that gets glossed over or ignored may have the nasty tendency of coming back to bite you in the butt later on. Related to this, do not imagine, even if you get a good, comprehensive, extensive MRI safety initial orientation, don't imagine that that is enough. You as a radiologist are going to be faced with more situations and scenarios and confounding factors than really can be captured in an introductory, orientation, MRI safety presentation. So identify for yourself resources, references where you can turn for information when things get weird or hairy or unusually confounded with different factors. Turn to best practice documents. Have them, sort of at your fingertips when you need them. Generally for MRI safety, I would point you first and foremost to the ACR's 2020 Manual on MRI Safety, available free for download from the ACR's website. With respect to contrast, I would point you to the ACR's contrast manual as one of the references. Contrast is, particularly the risks associated with contrast, is a pretty dynamic area right now. So please don't feel as though the information that you get today necessarily will carry you through the next 5, 10, 20 years, because this body of knowledge is continuously evolving. That's it for today. Each of the 5 days, weekdays of this week, we're going to be bringing you a short, easily digestible welcome video for the radiology residents with just a couple of bon mots, a couple of small words of wisdom that we hope will help you feel more comfortable, more confident, more competent in MRI and MRI safety related issues. Welcome. If you are a trainer and you want your rad residents to see this information, please invite them, because we want them to be active participants in our MRI safety conversations. Thank you very much, and happy Radiology Residents Week.